Hi, welcome to 531 group counseling. This is week 4, and this is the instructor's video for week 4. In this video, I'm going to go over some key points for chapter 7, and then also a little bit more on our group presentation that we'll be doing together. So in chapter 7, there were some key points that the author discussed as far as the as far as the purpose of your group and establishing your group and the key points to making sure that your group is successful. The first point was purpose. So each group should have a specific purpose. When you are designing that group, you are coming together to make sure that the purpose is very clear. So we don't want to just have an academic group. But more importantly, what are we focusing on academically? What skill sets are the students missing? Yes, they may have been selected because they have 2 or more Fs on their report card. However, we want to make sure that the academic skill sets that you'll be teaching is very established and clear. That's going to give them better skills. So study skills would be a great one for high school. Goal setting, time management. Those are specific skill sets that should be taught during that group. So academic group is a great title, but we really want to kind of narrow that down, like honing in on your studying skills or what not to do for homework, how to study for a quiz. These should be the specifics and the purpose of an academic group. Okay, so these are more in-depth titles. When we just say we have an academic group and we're focusing on students with 2 or more Fs, we really need to know why that student has 2 or more Fs. What is the challenge that they're facing? Which leads me to the next topic, which is screening. How do we screen for them? So yes, we know that the students have 2 or more Fs on their report card, and we ran a query on our student system to determine that information. But really, do all of these students go together? Are all of them missing certain skill sets? Perhaps there is one student, maybe 6 students who lack time management. Maybe they're showing signs and symptoms of ADHD characteristics, which means, they may have difficulty staying on task. If that's the case, we wouldn't be able to diagnose any of that information, but we can observe it. And as we observe it, those kids will go into a different study skills group versus the students who are don't have a distractibility as an issue, just lack organization or time management. And so they need to get themselves organized, or maybe they've never studied for anything. Maybe something is a little bit more difficult for them. So the screening process is important as well. We want to make sure that the students match. So as we're talking about this academic group, how do they all come together, and how do they all need certain skill sets that you'll be teaching within this group session? And then the session planning, we're going to talk about that a little bit more as you will learn how to plan sessions and how they should be sequential. So if time management, so we're talking about goal setting first, like, okay, I want to achieve a B out of this class. How do I go about doing that? Then next, time management. Okay, so I notice that I'm far behind in this particular subject area. I'm lacking many skills in the subject area. So what do I need to do? How much additional time do I need to focus in order to get my basic skills so that I can be successful? And then study skills, like, how do I sit down and study? Some of us don't know how to do that. Some of us will just try to recall information, and so we have to be taught that we need to maybe make note cards, underline, um, tap into are we a visual learner, an auditory learner, are we tactile? What are the skills that will help us be successful with that student, with studying? And then we want to have a lot of practice, right? And then we want to see how they utilize those skill sets that you taught them within group, with homework, with classwork, to see if they have had success with those skill sets. So your session planning should be sequential. It should build from one thing to another. And then setting the tone. Um, the tone is should be openness, and that we're here to share ideas. Maybe even someone else in the group says, "Well, I study this way," or "I study that way." Um, and then we have the ability to share our greatest strengths and with them. All right. And then when we're setting the tone, when we're in the midst of a group, we want to make sure we're paying attention to our audience, because we can think that we came up with the greatest group session and our students are not interested in it. So maybe we need to ask questions. Maybe we need to see why they're not engaged. Maybe they need more hands-on things. Maybe we're doing too much talking. For someone with ADHD, maybe the talking is working. The minute you ask them to write, it becomes cumbersome for them and they no longer want to participate. So we really do need to see what works best for the group, and have we put the group together accordingly. Um, we also want to scan the room and draw out people, and make sure that they're able to focus. So make sure all the distractions around them are lessened as much as possible. When we are in the group, another important part is asking effective questions. So the book gives examples of types of effective questions. One of a less effective question that it began with is, how was your week? A more effective question was, how did you use what you have learned in this group during the past week? So we really want them to associate what they have learned in group in their everyday life. And this is something that's difficult because many times in group, we can have students come to group and they perform perfectly. They sit quietly, they take turns, they raise their hand. And depending on if it's a social skills group, but the minute they go back into class, all of that goes out the door. So the teacher never witnesses the same things that we see, the ability to control the behaviors in a smaller group setting. So then we have to go in sometimes and see how to apply those things. Sometimes students may need a reminder, a picture, something on their desk to help them to be successful when they're in the larger groups. Okay. Then we also want to use our counseling theories. We talked about this, making sure that we have evidence, and we're using the evidence-based counseling theories. When we're doing stress, that could be CBT. That's really effective. When we're talking about changing behavior, we're looking at behavioral theory or REBT. When we are looking at narrative therapy, narrative theory is another modern one that helps tell a story and develops problem solving skills for conflict resolution. So those are all great theories that you should be using. So those are the key points from chapter 7 on the essentials for leading small groups in schools. Okay. Now I'm going to move to our assignment, our group assignment. So I'm going to share my screen with you. All right. So this is the assignment that you should be taking a look at and focusing on, as you guys are working and dividing, what you should do with your groups. So you need to have all of these components for each lesson. For the entire group um, presentation. So you're going to have a written portion of this, and then you're going to demonstrate this during week 7. When we are demoing the lesson, you won't do as you did during week 3, where you'll actually lead a lesson. You will talk about how you guys came up with your title, who's your audience for the group, and how you will be answering these type of questions. So first and foremost, obviously the name and the type of group. Secondly, the goals and the rationale for the group. The literature review regarding the population that's served. So if you're going to have a group for an academic group, and it's in high school, and it is because many students are not passing these core courses, then you would do a mini literature review on that states why are students failing this particular course more so than every. Like if it's the math courses, we have to have 3 years to 4 years of math to graduate from high school. What's the reasoning? Is it that kids are coming to high school less prepared? They don't have their skill sets. This may even include what it would look like because of the pandemic, because students were at home. So is this affecting their ability to learn the math skills that are necessary? So when you're moving into advanced math, they still do not have the skills that they need. Same with the reading. If the students are not reading at grade level, how many students need a lower level English course in order to do writing or reading and comprehend reading when they're entering in 9th grade? These would be all things that you would research in your literature review. And the population served would be students with multiple Fs. Likewise, if I was doing a social skills group, well, there's a lot of literature out there right now that is talking about the effects of the pandemic and why people need more mental health and so on. So these would be things that we would different articles that we would use to create our literature review on the population that we are serving, why we are in need of so many social skills groups today. Now, during this literature review, this is a small portion, so the literature review should be just 1 page, okay? Then we have the pre and post test for group evaluation. So this is the test that you give to the group before and after. Then identification of participation, utilizing the mindset behavior data. And we're going to align that with our ASCA mindsets. So here is the ASCA mindsets, and I'm showing you this. So these are the categories that you would be using to address why you're putting this particular group together. So for example, I talked earlier about in high school, time management, organization, and study skills. That's something that we would be using as category 2 behavior mindset, behavior standard for that particular group. If we were trying to teach students to get along better and have less conflict resolution, then teaching positive relationships with students who are similar and different to them. So then I would use that ASCA mindset. All right. Leader training and goals, if there's any training that's required, and the goals for the leader throughout this group. And then the group format and techniques, what you will be using, and then expectations of the group members, the rules and roles of the participants, and how confidentiality will be achieved within your group, and how you will determine who is included and excluded in your group, and questions to ask, and then the outline of each session. So again, you're doing 8 sessions, and here is the lesson plan. When you click on it, this is the lesson plan, and you will fill this. So this is the lesson plan for the title of the group. And we would say this is lesson 1, the school counselor, the targeted audience, and then the behavior mindsets that you would include in there. This would be lesson 1 of 8. And then here are the students will learn the learning objectives, the materials needed, the evidence base, whether it's based, action research, research informed, or evidence-based practices. If you're using any type of theories, it would be evidence-based practice. And then here, this is where you will describe how to introduce the lesson, communicate the lesson objectives, teach the content, practice the content, summarize, and close, all right? And then the data, the anticipated number of students in this particular lesson, all right? The possible length of the lesson, the pre and post test, and the outcome data. What was the achievement, attendance, and discipline? Okay. And obviously you're not doing the lesson, so we're not going to fill out that section, but because we don't know if we're not doing the lessons for them, so we're not going to be filling out that latter part. All right. So you will have 8 lesson plans, all right? It needs to have all of the appropriate documentation attached to the entire lesson plan. And then we'll have, as a group, you will upload, one person will upload the final document. It needs to be in PDF or Word for the Canvas. I need to be able to see all of the documents. So please, no pictures. I need to, unless the picture is a very visible picture. What I'm saying is I don't want pictures of the lesson plan, okay? And that will cover the elements of the assignment, right? So the lesson plans should be in sequential order, and then it also should, in some of your introductions, you should include what you learned previously, kind of reviewing that and moving on into the next one. If you have PowerPoints that go with it, you can put links to the PowerPoints. Please make sure I have access to the links that you are including. So make sure you have a folder that has given me access to the folder. Please do not include a link and then I am not able to take a look at that PowerPoint through that link. That's very important because I won't be able to grade or see the PowerPoint presentation if I don't have access to it. So make sure that the links work, all right? That covers the information for your group assignment. You guys should be working on those group assignments during your spring break. Our spring break is the first week of April. So this is week 4, our last week in March, and then we'll go on spring break, and then we'll return after that first week and in April, and that becomes week 5, and I will see you during week 5. Thank you so much, and I will see you week 5.